Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome back to EX9 Part 2. So what I'm going to do, to have that view where we're actually going to have things that stack on each other, what we have to do first is we're going to kind of deal with the header, we'll deal with the footer, we'll deal with the nav, we'll kind of work from a top-down approach. So what you can do, and the way this works is if you change something, if you put something down there in the query and you change it, it will change it. But if you don't, it'll stay whatever's up here. So anything that you want to stay the same, like your margin padding 0, your display block, your HTML background color, your body. Well, actually our body we are going to change. So what I'm going to do is I'll copy this. I'll copy a couple things to start. I'll copy body and I'll copy my header and address bar stuff just to start, my first three things. So I'm going to copy them and I'm going to go down at the bottom of the page and I'm going to paste them. And remember, they all, and I'm going to put an extra return here, they all should have their opening and closing brackets. So there should be one closing bracket for everything, but then each rule, we're basically copying our CSS. And here's a couple things we're going to do here. Anything that changes, like I said, anything that changes we have to change. Anything that is going to stay the same you can ignore, and they don't have to be here. So for example, the width we're going to change to 100%. Okay, so I'm going to change that and make sure you get rid of the pixels. Margin, auto, 0, we're going to keep that the same so we don't need it. Background color is going to stay the same. We don't need it. Font family, same, don't need it. We're going to get rid of box shadow and all this kind of stuff. So we're just going to put box shadow none. Because we don't need a box. We could have it there, but I'm just going to put none. Make life easier. We don't need this. And shadow will put none. So those will override the originals. We shouldn't need these things. So I'm just going to backspace up here, tab that in, and that's our body done. So I'll move body back here so it looks kind of neat. So our body is done. We shouldn't see a whole lot different showing up here right now, although there is, you could see if body's 100%, there's some things already, I could see some things that aren't fitting. Some things are getting messed up already. With our body at 100%. Our body's no longer 960. It's at 100%, so it's 100% of the window. So there's already, it's not fitting, it's already almost going responsive a little bit. So just by doing that, it's already putting our nav, our content, and it's bumping the photo down there. So, but we're still going to remove floats and do some of that, but for the interim, so it doesn't kind of look like this in the meantime. We're going to have a jump. So you could make different layouts for kind of the in-between stage, but we're going to jump right to kind of an iPhone stage like this. So a couple things we have to do next. We're going to take a look at our header. Now we're not going to have a height of 240. We're actually going to make this auto. Now you're not going to see anything really change, I don't think, at this point with height of auto. And also for address bar, I don't think we're going to change any. We may change the padding to like 1% or something instead of using pixels. So I wouldn't need color. I wouldn't even need these in my address bar. I may change the padding a little bit. I may use percents. I think we're going to use top and bottom maybe like 2%, and then left and right we might make 5%. Okay, and that should look about the same. You could even make the font smaller, but that's all I'm going to do there. Let me get rid of the pixels, the PX here. Okay. And if you need to make it a little smaller, but that's okay right now. We have a little gap here, which we'll fix. One other thing we have to put in here, notice our image isn't scaling. And just by making this auto, that's not scaling our image. So we actually have to put in a rule that we didn't have on our first one. And I'm going to put it right in here. I'm going to copy paste this. And I'm going to put header banner pick, and I'm going to put IMG. And I'm going to target the image. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to put a width. I'm going to put a width of 100%. Okay, and you see what it's doing already. It's changing the width of 100%. So I'll put that in first. I'll move this over a little. It's changing the width to 100%, but how about the height? Well, I could put height for 100% as well. And that kind of fixes that. And what it should do is it should scale. And you can check this out. Let me move this away. And let me just make sure that that scales. You can see it's scaling when it gets to 480. I mean, when it gets to 680, it's scaling in there. Now, I have a little white gap in there. And I'm not sure why that white gap gets in there, but I know I'm just going to put in a little fix to fix it. I'm going to put a margin in the banner pick right here, and I'm going to put a negative margin. I'm going to put margin bottom. because you can't put negative padding, but you can put negative margins. And I'm going to just, you could put any number. You could put -2 pix and see what happens. And you could see it moved just a little. And from trying it before, I think -4 is what actually made it work. And it kind of got rid of that overlap. I'm not sure why. You know, if you put -3, you can see there's a little white gap there. So for whatever reason, that kind of fixes it. So this is a little fix. You know, and you could even put a comment here. You know, fixes the white gap between, you know, whatever, between header and address. Fine. Okay, so we have a little comment there on why we're doing that. Okay, so for any of these, if you want to put comments on why you're doing that, this one here, if you don't like typing these things out, because I always type the wrong one, you could go here and just put scales image. That's fine. You don't have to put one for both, but scales image. That's all you need for the image tag here. And down here, we just adjusted the padding that's on here, and we're pretty good so far. We have a start here, so we did the header, we did this little address bar, and one thing I could show you, because you see how fax is on its own line, and then it comes down here. Now, there's nothing we could tell it to do, other than making it shorter. But we could go into the index, and we could go up to where it says fax, and we could put where there's a space here. I could backspace, and I could put ampersand NB. And it comes up, non-breaking space. And what that means, it's a non-breaking space. It means there's a space there, but it won't break it. So it'll actually bump fax to the next line if it needs to. So if I come here and I resize it, you can see what happens. Once it gets to the point where fax might break, it'll still break the phone number, it looks like, but then it'll put that on its own line. So we'll put a non-breaking. I'm not sure. I didn't think it would actually break the phone number, but we're going to just do that. And if you ever need to fix that, you could put, especially if it's for navigation, if you ever see navigation that's breaking, particularly at the end, for some of these, we might want to put, instead of contact us breaking on a line or cosmetic treatments like it is right here, we can put non-breaking spaces in between there. But that's small details. We're not going to worry about that yet. We have some other stuff to deal with. And the next part we're going to work on is going to be our nav. So we're going to focus on our nav. We're going to change the background color. We're going to decrease the space between all these. We'll take out the padding that's going around it, and we'll make them go 100% across the screen, and then we'll deal with the bottom part.